A powerful underdog story filled with tension, emotion, and a shocking twist. Subscribe and get locked in for more chilling and interesting true crime chronicles. In the winter of 1962, Harlem felt colder than usual. The kind of cold that didn't just bite your skin, it settled into your bones. Evelyn Carter, age 45, walked the late-night streets with the steady step of a woman who'd been fighting battles long before the world ever noticed she was in the ring. Small in stature, soft-spoken, always wrapped in a long gray coat. She moved like someone used to blending into the backdrop of life. People never looked twice at her, and that's exactly how she survived. But behind her gentle eyes lived a pain Harlem had forgotten. Her younger brother, Daniel Carter, vanished in 1942. A bright, gifted boy who dreamed of becoming a musician. He disappeared after performing at a community talent show the night the neighborhood still remembered, because Daniel's voice had brought the entire room to their feet. He walked out of the building that night carrying his saxophone case and was never seen again. Police reports, filed, follow-ups, none. Community outrage, brief, answers, not one. Even worse, rumors spread. Maybe he ran away. Maybe he joined the army. Maybe he left on purpose. No one realized how deeply the words cut Evelyn, because she knew her brother better than anyone. Daniel loved Harlem. He loved his family. He loved music too much to abandon it. And Evelyn knew, deep in her bones, someone stole him from the world. But she had no power, no influence, no voice. So the world ignored her for 20 years. The Carter family suffered the most, but they weren't the only ones who remembered Daniel. There was one name tied to Daniel's last performance, a man who rose to power in Harlem long after that night. Clifford Big Cliff Marston, Harlem's wealthiest landlord, business owner, and the kind of man who could silence a room simply by walking into it. He sat in the front row the night Daniel performed, and Daniel won the competition that evening, beating Cliff's son, Gregory. The crowd cheered Daniel loudly, too loudly. People whispered that Cliff didn't like being overshadowed. People whispered that Cliff didn't like anyone rising higher than his family. But Cliff was powerful, and powerful men did not get questioned. Over the years, Cliff only grew richer, louder, and more feared. Evelyn, meanwhile, grew quieter, more invisible, and more alone. In January 1962, Evelyn took a second cleaning job at one of Cliff Marston's commercial buildings, a towering structure that practically screamed wealth. Cliff never noticed her. He never noticed anyone he considered beneath him. One night, Evelyn was asked to clean the old storage basement, a cluttered maze of broken furniture, abandoned crates, and forgotten files. She never expected to find anything connected to her past, but fate moves silently. Sometimes it hides the truth in plain sight, waiting for the one person strong enough to face it. Near the back wall, Evelyn stumbled upon a locked trunk. Solid metal, heavy, clearly untouched for decades. To her surprise, the key was still in the lock. Hands trembling, she opened it. Inside, she found a dusty bundle of sheet music, a cracked wooden saxophone reed, a faded competition program with Daniel's name circled, a monogrammed silk handkerchief Evelyn had given Daniel for luck. And one more thing, a business ledger belonging to Cliff Marston dated 1942. Her breath froze. Daniel's items locked away in Cliff's building, with Cliff's old ledger beside them. It didn't prove everything, but it proved enough. Tears blurred her vision as she clutched the handkerchief to her chest. For the first time in 20 years, Evelyn didn't feel hopeless. She felt fire. Evelyn didn't run to the police. She didn't confront Cliff. She did something much more dangerous. She gathered allies quietly. First, she took the evidence to her church pastor, an elderly man named Reverend Milton Brooks, who remembered Daniel's talent show vividly, and remembered Cliff's rage when his son lost. Then she contacted a young community organizer named Rosa Whitfield, a fearless woman who ran Harlem's most active justice committee. Lastly, she approached a local newspaper, not the big city press, but a black-run paper that had exposed corruption before, the Harlem Sentinel. When the editor, Marcus Reed, saw the initials DC, the sheet music, In Cliff's 1942 ledger, he didn't hesitate. "This isn't a story," he said. "This is a reckoning." Evelyn stood before him, her voice low but steady. "I just want the truth to stand up for itself," she said. "It's been bent over for too long." When the Harlem Sentinel published the headline, "Cold Case Reopened, Daniel Carter's Belongings Found in Marston Storage Building," the community erupted like a volcano. It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't an attack. It was simply the truth. Daniel's things were hidden in Cliff's property. Cliff responded with rage. He held press conferences. He called the story slander. He called Evelyn confused and desperate for attention. But Harlem had already placed him on trial. In their hearts, in their minds, in their whispers. People remembered the night Cliff stormed out of the talent show when Daniel won. People remembered the rumors of Cliff bribing youth programs. People remembered his temper. This time the community didn't stay silent. Crowds gathered outside his businesses. Renters demanded answers. Churches prayed aloud for truth. Activists marched through the streets with signs. "Justice for Daniel Carter. We won't be silent anymore." Harlem remembers. Cliff tried to dismiss them, but the world had changed. Harlem wasn't afraid anymore. The final blow came from an unexpected place. A former employee of Cliff's, an elderly janitor who had worked for him back in 1942, came forward. He remembered helping Cliff move a locked case out of the Talent Hall storage room the night Daniel disappeared. He remembered seeing Daniel's name on the program inside. He remembered the fear in Cliff's eyes. Not guilt, but fear of being overshadowed, embarrassed, or mocked. That ledger Evelyn found. It placed Cliff at the building during the exact time Daniel vanished. No violence was described. No graphic detail needed. Just the truth. Cliff had taken Daniel's belongings. He hid them. He wanted the world to forget Daniel's light ever shined. Now Harlem knew the truth. Cliff Marston didn't kill Daniel, but he erased him out of pride, envy, and control. And for Harlem, that was enough. Within weeks, Cliff's empire collapsed. Businesses cut ties with him. Tenants broke leases. Board members forced him out. The powerful man who once towered over Harlem now walked its streets with his head bowed, defeated, exposed, powerless. On a spring morning, Evelyn stood before the crowd at Daniel's memorial service. The first Harlem had ever held for him. Wind rustled the trees. Children played in the park. Music floated through the air. A saxophone played by a young boy Daniel once mentored. Evelyn looked out at her community. The same community that once ignored her. Now they listened. Now they saw her. Her voice rose, steady and resolute. "My brother deserved to be remembered, and today he is. You cannot bury truth forever. It waits. And when it rises, there will always be someone like me standing beside it." The crowd erupted in applause. Not for revenge, not for pain, for justice, for truth, for the underdog who never stopped believing her brother mattered, even when the world didn't. Power may silence people for a season, but the truth survives every winter. Sometimes all it needs is the quietest voice to bring spring back again. Subscribe for more interesting true crime chronicles.